Now, in his Easter message, the Prime Minister welcomed the opportunity to pause and reflect as he gears up for a general election.
OK, but a new poll it's a mega poll, actually.
Why
It's a big
are they calling
one.
it a mega poll?
Because they asked a lot of people. You know, normally polls are like, we chatted to 2,000 people, but this is, I think, 15,000, so it's quite a lot of people.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I
Mega.
think so. Anyway, new mega poll in the Times newspaper has revealed the Conservatives are on track for the worst election results ever.
Well, it found the Tories could win fewer than 100 seats, Labour having a predicted majority of 286. I think it was a whopping majority when Boris Johnson got 80.
Yeah, that's a
2019.
whopping.
286-seat majority.
That's literally everybody, isn't it?
The problem with that is, of course, is that would mean the Labour Party could do anything it wanted, and that's why. Who was it the other day saying to Chopper about there needs to be you need to have a strong opposition. For democracy's sake, you need a strong opposition. That's just sensible, which you wouldn't get with that sort of majority. I mean, that's
no, there would be no opposition whatsoever, would there?
No.
And well, let's get someone intelligent to talk about politics, shall we? Political commentator Jonathan Gibson. Jonathan, thank you very much for joining us, and happy Easter to you. It comes to something when even the Tory supporting newspapers like the Sunday Telegraph and the Sunday Times are having a go, and this is a pretty shocking poll, isn't it?
Absolutely, and good morning and a happy Easter to the both of you. Yes, this definitely shocked me reading this morning. The fact that even our Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak's seat, is in danger says a lot about the state of the Conservative Party. And also, I think it's quite common amongst discussion to talk about that the Conservatives are in for a significant defeat. I think the extent to which this poll suggests that they're going to be defeated is still surprising to many people. I mean, 468 MPs is what Labour is estimated to be left with, compared to just 98 from the Tory front. We talked about the Conservative landslide against Jeremy Corbyn, but this is really going to be significant and historical in upturning what was previously a very strong Conservative majority.
Well, look, it's democracy, and the people should get what they vote for. But as I was saying before, the problem with something of this size, 286-seat majority, is that it has the potential to damage the democratic process, doesn't it, in terms of a government being able to do absolutely whatever it wants.
I mean, I think everyone across all ends of the political spectrum will say it's really important to have a strong opposition for democracy. And it is a concern. Unfortunately, for people in the Labour camp, there's nothing they can do about that. And they're possibly quite happy about the fact that we might be able to change some of the policies and some of the trends that are going through politics, which have been throughout the last sort of 13 years under the Conservative leadership. Whether they can do that remains to be seen. But I think it signifies that people are fed up with the current status quo. And, they may face opposition, they may face challenges from backbenchers and MPs who seek to rebel from the party line. But I think ultimately they will have far greater mandate to do and to change what they want. Obviously, it's not an ideal situation, and you would want a significant and strong opposition party in order to hold them to account properly.
Jonathan, it is a cliche, obviously, that, a party that have been in government for as long as the Conservative Party have, people are just going to vote them out because it's the thing to do almost. But they're not necessarily voting for Labour. Do you think that's the case in this situation again?
I think that there's a few different reasons why people are moving away from the Conservatives. I think part of that is the length of time that they've been in power. Part of that has been frustration over key political issues, which many in the public have felt have been ignored. The leadership tussles, which have really weakened the party, whether that was with Boris Johnson, Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak, and people sort of feeling ignored and their voices feeling very much alienated. I think with Keir Starmer, there's a bit of push and take. There's people possibly feeling that maybe even if we don't really want him, we're not really excited by the prospect of his leadership, he seems like a safe pair of hands, someone who may take into account some of our concerns. And obviously he's been moving towards sort of the centre ground, which has been growing his appeal to many across who are not, far left or even in the Labour Party, and a lot of reluctant, often historic sort of Conservative voters or people that hadn't voted in several years are starting to move towards his party. And I think a lot of people who are on the left are sort of grudgingly going to vote for him, knowing that voting Green or anywhere else would sort of be a bit of a waste, I would argue.
Would this effectively, for a period of time at least, kill the far left off? I mean, because he wouldn't have to pander to them, he wouldn't have to have a far left deputy or anything of that nature at all, would it? The whole momentum movement would fizzle out, wouldn't it?
I mean, I think within his party, he's actually done quite a remarkable job of shutting down the far left, as we are seeing right now today in campaigns and in the way who's allowed to speak and what the party line is. And I think that's been quite surprising to many in some ways, given that he was serving in Jeremy Corbyn's cabinet. So I think he's already shown that he's willing to do that. I think actually there will be more challenges, if anything, once he seizes power and these people feel like they have the ability to speak because they have, got their seats and been represented. So I think there will start being more challenges. But obviously the fact that he might have such a landslide will possibly help him to push some of that. But when you have such a big majority, it actually can be incredibly difficult to cater to all those different factions and make sure your party stay happy with you. So it might be an incredibly difficult job, even though it seems on the face of it that it will be quite beneficial for him having such a large majority.
Jonathan, just very briefly, we're running out of time, but Penny Mordaunt has, in this poll also, Penny Mordaunt is more popular than Rishi Sunak. If they did change leader again, I mean, why not? It's a new week. Would that help them?
Possibly. I don't think it would help them enough to significantly overturn this majority or do anything really significant, but I don't really see how it could make their position any worse given the sort of dire situation they're currently finding themselves in.
Oh, heck. Well, that's the sort of analysis they won't want to hear.
Happy Easter, Rishi.
Yeah. Jonathan, thanks very much indeed.
Thank
Good to
you,
see
Jonathan.
you this morning.